Dear everyone, I'm very glad to show the case in my industry. My name is Shawn. I'm from China. Just like Alex just said, there are a lot of Chinese companies are using Zabbix currently. I'm very glad that we are one of them, and we're also one of the Fortune 500 company in China. I'm working in the bank in one of the most biggest bank in China. It's the biggest credit card center in China. First, I want to introduce myself to all of you. My name is Shawn, and I am a Zabbix certified professional, also an official translator of Zabbix menu and the extended DevOps handbook. I also have some titles of certifications. DevOps Master ITIL, Red Hat some, or VMware some certificates. I have about 8 years experience in consulting and banking industry. I started to use Zabbix from 2012, so about 5 or 6 years about experience with Zabbix. First I want to share one sentence. It's from the Steve Elop. We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we've lost. As we all know, Nokia lost the competition with the Apple in the smartphone area. So I want to know if any people know the VUCA, the meaning of the VUCA. Please hands up. Okay. VUCA means has the 4 features: the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I think it's the feature of our current time, especially in the internet time, and also it's very important for us in our banking industry. Currently, we have a lot of change. Oh, sorry, the PT is something wrong. I can show you something. Currently, we just use the QR code to finish the payment. We have a lot of apps in our mobile phone. Currently, we don't need the cash to finish it. We just need a QR code, and some people can scan the QR code, and the trades will be completed. And we can call the food express at home. You can see this picture. In fact, it's about the people will deliver the food immediately to you, maybe around 30 minutes. And also, currently, we can buy a lot of SIMs, buy the fresh meat, fresh fruit by the apps. And we don't need to stand on the road. We can just call a taxi when you are in the house, and then you can just walk on the road. We have more, also there are some changes happened in media, in banking. Currently, we transfer a lot of business from the offline to the online. People can buy the tickets by our apps, and also currently we used to read the magazines or news, but currently we can use the app. So a lot of things have transferred from the offline to the online. We rely on the apps more and more than before. So the business change means the challenges to the IT, especially the IT infrastructure, the monitoring. It's the fact in our company. You can see the amount of the servers, amount of the applications, also staffs increased a lot. And we use a lot of microservices or distribution services instead of a lot of standalone services because they have a more high availability, and also it's more reliable. And we will have more languages. Besides the C# or Java, we will use the Python, Go, Ruby, and a lot of languages. So it's a very complex environment. In our environment, we should monitor a lot of things. For the layer, we should monitor the hardware, storage, operation system, and a lot of things, middleware, database, and applications. Even in one layer, we still have a lot of brands or platforms need to monitor. Just like hardware, in our server room, we have a lot of servers of HP, Dell, or Huawei. So all of them should be monitored because it's very credential. So it means a lot of skills for IT professionals. An IT person should know at least maybe 50% of it. So what's the goal of the monitoring? In my opinion, I think normally we start the monitoring from the operating system level. We should monitor the Linux server, the Windows server. And beyond it, we should monitor the middleware database and the API. And below it, we should monitor the infrastructure of it, the virtual machine or host or some hardware storage network. It's the scale of the monitoring. So one platform should consider the scale. And on the other hand, the depth of monitoring, we should monitor the availability, if the port is down or up, and the performance, the usage of the CPU memory, and the event log due to the security purpose, or we should trace something. And for some business needs, we also have some on-demand KPIs, like the count of the order number or order amounts. It's the two dimension of the monitoring goal. So we want to find a universal monitoring solution because a lot of vendors provide the monitoring platform, but they just can monitor their own products. So it's our goal of monitoring. First, it's a universal monitoring platform, maybe one or two monitoring platform is enough. And then we can, because we have a large number of servers, applications, we want to have a very flexible and it is easy to deploy the agent or monitoring solution. And we also need to consider the inventory data. We have a lot of information of the inventory. It should provide some basic information or data to the CMDB for the inventory management purpose. Also, it should be automatically. Because we have more and more themes about DevOps, Agile, or Scrum, so we have more workflow about DevOps or some continuous integration. So the platform should provide some standard API, and it can be combined with other platforms like Ansible or Puppet. So there are a lot of products, monitoring products in the market. And because I'm not a service provider of Zabbix, so we will consider a lot of platforms. We'll compare Zabbix, compare Nagios, compare a lot of commercial products like System Center or Tivoli. But why we choose Zabbix as our platform? Just like I said in previous slides, we need to consider two dimensions, the scale and the depth. We used to use the System Center Operation Manager. It's a monitoring solution from Microsoft. It's very powerful on the Microsoft platform. It can monitor a lot of things, Exchange or SharePoint. But if we want use System Center Operation Manager to monitor the Linux system, it will cost us a lot of efforts. And because it's a commercial product, it's not open sourced. So we should ask the vendor, ask the engineer from Microsoft to design something for us, to make something for us. So the communication is the cost. Also, it cannot deliver the result immediately for us. So Zabbix is on the balance point of the depth and the scale. Although Zabbix cannot monitor a lot of things like System Center, look in detail, and maybe it's very difficult for Zabbix. But Zabbix can monitor a lot of things, Hadoop, Linux server, Windows server, or even some hardwares. I will show something after in the following slides. So we decided to choose the Zabbix. So there are some best practice because we are in the banking industry. Currently, we call the fintech, the financial and technology. So we have several best practices in fintech. First, the distributed monitoring. Because we are a bank, we have a lot of network zone. So we need to consider the security. So we will deploy a lot of proxies, maybe one or two per area, and in each zone, network zone. And on the back end, we will use the MySQL cluster. use the MH3 technology and one proxy, or use MyCat to combine them to a database cluster. And we will have a web server in this. And the web server can be accessed by a lot of people, by administrators, by help desk or service desk, because we also have a 24/7 call center. So they will deal with the issues immediately. So all of them can do some operations via the website. So we don't need to go to the server room to view the status of the server. We just need to access the website, and we can find all information we need. It's very safe because there is a firewall. We just open the limited ports on the firewall, the SSH or the PIN, ICMP PIN, or etc. So it's very safe. We don't need to open a lot. And then, because our organization is very big, there are a lot of people in the organization. So we will divide we will put every host into 2 dimensions or 2 groups, at least 2 groups. If you run a server, there are MySQL on it, and also a Tomcat. We will put it in a platform group. We call it the application Tomcat and the P application PDB MySQL. We will put it into these 2 groups. And if the server is work for the user center system, we will put it into a service line group. Maybe it's called the service line application user center. So we can see the status of the server in 2 degrees. One system degree. The degree is the professional, the administrators they will focus on the status of the server and the performance of the database. And in another way, the business person, some business person will care about if there's something wrong with their order amounts. So they can also, because we put them into this group, they can also see the result of the monitoring. So every host has to belong at least 1 P group, platform group, and 1 service line group. And we will link the P group to the host template. We have a standard monitoring rules. And then the S group will link to the user group. Who want to see it, put it in. And what's the benefit? It will reduce the monitoring noise because I'm a Windows administrator, and I will not receive any alerts from the database group because I'm not a professional. I don't need it. So it will keep monitoring accuracy. What we should do is the administrators should just define the templates. We have a standard templates, although there are some custom items, and the templates will link to the hosts. And we will also link the host to the user group, because who will receive the notification from the hosts will define this rule. So we just need to define 1 rule and link to group. Also, we will complete the monitoring automatically. We will scan the whole network automatically, use the Autodiscovery feature in Zabbix. And we will define something, just like we will define if its operating system is Windows. We will link it. We use the Autodiscovery feature to do 1 action to link the host to the Windows template. And then this group will be defined to notify the Windows team administrator. So we will define a lot of rules. The benefit is we will not monitor, we will not add the hosts 1 by 1. We don't need to do the things manually. It will be done completely, automatically by the Zabbix. And next one, alerting and notification. We have a dashboard, and we know the Zabbix have 5 levels of the trigger, but we just use 3 of them, the disaster, warning, and information. Just means that the issue should be dealt with immediately, and also it will report to the team leader or even the boss, because it affects the business. And the warning means it's a minor trigger, minor issue, and maybe you can deal with the issue. It's a potential issue. You can deal with it maybe in 1 day or in 2 days. So it's not very emergent. So also it can be notified via the sound, because we have dashboard. It can make sound and a short message, email, or screen. And you can see this, it's a short message in the real production environment. There is just 5 lines, but it contains a lot of information: the trigger status, trigger name, and also which host is wrong, what happened on which host, the host name or the value. When our NOC, the Network Operation Center, receive the message, they also know I should call whom to deal with the issue, the POC name and the phone number. So it improves the efficiency of dealing with the issues. Also, it's a big dashboard in our NOC room. There are a lot of small clouds on it. Every cloud means one business or several business applications. And we can see the issues directly by the color. The red means it's a disaster. The yellow means it's a warning. And there are some apps is on the maintenance mode. So we can use just one dashboard to see the total status of our system. Also, it's in the business view, because every cloud means one business application. And the customized dashboard is, it's the version 2.2, so it's not convenient to define it, but in current version, it's very convenient to make this kind of dashboard. And we don't need any other people to help us to do that, and the administrators can finish it. Also, sometimes the boss will think the interface is not very cool. We will use the Grafana. Grafana plugin to combine it with the Zabbix. It's very simple, so don't need a lot of effort to finish it. We use Zabbix in another way, out of band. We have a lot of server in server room. So when one server have some problem with the disk or fan, so we need to go to the room, find a KVM, keyboard, video, mouse to deal with that. But we use the out-of-band network. HP server, Dell server, or Huawei server has its own console. But I think it's very complex, because you need to maintain 3 consoles. So we connect all of the management port of the server. The Dell server used iDRAC, Huawei used IBMC, and HP used ILO to connect these ports to the out-of-band network. We call it OOB network. And in that network, there is a DHCP server. It will assign the address automatically for all of the ports. And one Zabbix proxy in the OOB network, it can discover all the hosts, use Autodiscovery features, and add them in the Zabbix. And when we want to reboot or to see the information of the hardware, we can log on the Tor server on the network, and to find the IP address of the server. The IP address and the information is provided by the Zabbix, because also we have some templates of the IPMI. It's a standard protocol to monitor the hardware. Also, when we use the IPMI to collect the information, they can provide the hardware data for the CMDB. Last one, just like Alex said, they have a lot of integration platform. Currently, we not just use the Zabbix, we also combine it with other platforms. The developer will put the code on the Git, and the Jenkins will will do a lot of job to deploy to deploy the code or artifactor via the Ansible or Puppet on a lot of platform, Unix Circuit Server or Windows Server. But when we upgrade a service, some alerts were opened because during the upgrading, we need to restart the service. The port were stopped. So the Jenkins will also call the API of the Zabbix to put the hosts into the maintenance mode. Also, the Zabbix will sync the data to the CMDB and also will send some the notifications via the short message, via email or WeChat. So it's a simple workflow of the continuous integration or the continuous delivery. So that's all. I hope my idea or some best practice in the topic can share with you and to let you have more ideas about the usage of Zabbix. Thanks.
Thank you. Do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, thank you again for the presentation. There are a few questions. The first one, what was the biggest struggle while integrating into Zabbix into your environment? Or the biggest problem that you faced?
Biggest problem while we're using the Zabbix? Yeah, I think it's because in the first stage we try to monitor everything we can monitor, but we found less is more. Because sometimes we monitor a lot of things, but we see, in fact, it's no needed to monitor these kind of things. So also the big problem is on the server, on the MySQL side. So in the previous picture, we used the MySQL partition to solve the problem. So because we have a lot of systems, not just Zabbix should read the data from the database. So the MySQL is the most biggest, I think, the problem, but we have solved it.
Right, thank you. And another one is, have you faced any issues while integrating Zabbix with a WeChat messenger?
In fact, in our Zabbix community, we have a lot of support from the community member, and they have a lot of script. We don't have any issues while we communicate or integrate with the WeChat or other platform. But sometimes the API of Zabbix is a little slow. So we will consider it if we will use the DB sync. We will just collect the data from the database, or we will use the API, web API to finish the integration. So it will be the point you should consider when you integrate with other platform.
Right, thank you so much for the answer. And pretty much the last one, yeah. In this section of triggers and escalations, you have mentioned that the hosts were created via network discovery.
Yeah.
Did that involve any agent, active or passive?
Not yet. In fact, our discovery rule is to use a simple check to terminate the 1433 port. And if it is opened, it's up, we will automatically add the host to the Zabbix and link it to the template. And this is the simple check in the orange. And this uses the system.uname. It's also the building function of the Zabbix. So we don't need to do a lot of, we don't need to add the agent. But if you want to monitor more details, you should. Okay.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you very much for the presentation.